Chapter 22. From Seville to Granada. Hold on, where's Father Fyodor? Where's that shorn priest from the church of Frau and Laver? Wasn't he supposed to be heading to Vinogradnia Street, to number 34, to see a citizen named Bruns? Where's this treasure hunter in angelic disguise, the sworn enemy of Ippolit Matveyevich Vorobyaninov, who's currently lurking in a dark hallway near a fireproof safe? Father Fyodor has vanished. Some restless spirit has taken hold of him. Word is he was spotted at Popasnaya station on the Donetsk railway. He was running along the platform with a kettle of boiling water. Father Fyodor was seized by a craving. He wanted wealth. He's been swept across Russia, chasing after General Popova's furniture set, which, let's be honest, is completely worthless. Father is traveling across Russia, only writing letters to his wife. Father Fyodor's letter. Written in Kharkov at the train station, to his wife in the provincial town of N. My dearest Golubunya, Katerina Alexandrovna, I am deeply sorry for my actions. I abandoned you, poor thing, alone at such a time. I must explain everything to you. You'll understand, and hopefully you'll agree. Of course, I haven't joined any living church movement, nor would I ever consider it. God forbid. Now read carefully. We'll soon be living a different life. Remember when I told you about the candle factory? We'll have it and maybe even more. You won't have to cook meals yourself or keep boarders. We'll go to Samara and hire servants. Here's the thing, but keep it a big secret. Don't tell anyone, not even Maria Ivanovna. I'm searching for treasure. Remember the late Klavdia Ivanovna Petikova, Vorobyaninov's mother-in-law. Before she died, Klavdia Ivanovna revealed to me that her diamonds were hidden in her house in Stargorod. In one of the living room chairs, there are 12 in total. Katia, don't think I'm some kind of thief. She bequeathed these diamonds to me and told me to protect them from Ippolit Matveyevich, her longtime tormentor. That's why I left you, poor thing, so unexpectedly. Please forgive me. I arrived in Stargorod and imagine this, that old womanizer was there too. He found out somehow. He must have tortured the old woman before she died. A terrible man, and he's traveling with some kind of criminal, hired himself a thug. They attacked me directly, wanted to get rid of me, but I'm not one to be trifled with. I didn't give in. First, I went down the wrong path. I only found one chair in the Vorobyaninov house, now a charitable institution. I'm carrying my furniture to my room at the Sorbonne Hotel, and suddenly from around the corner, a man comes roaring at me like a lion, attacking and grabbing the chair. We almost came to blows. They wanted to disgrace me. Then I looked closer. It was Vorobyaninov. He shaved, imagine that, and bared his head, a con man embarrassing himself in his old age. He broke the chair. There was nothing there. I later realized I was on the wrong path, but at the time, I was very upset. I became bitter, and I told that libertine the whole truth to his face. But a disgrace in your old age, I said. What barbarity has come to Russia now? For a leader of the nobility to attack a clergyman like a lion and accuse him of being nonpartisan. You, I said, are a vile man, a tormentor of Klavdia Ivanovna, and a hunter of someone else's property, which is now state-owned, not his. He became ashamed and walked away from me, to a brothel, probably. I went back to my room at the Sorbonne Hotel and started thinking about my next plan, and I figured out something that bald fool would never have thought of. I decided to find the person who was distributing the requisitioned furniture. Imagine that, Katia. It wasn't for nothing that I studied at the law faculty. It came in handy. I found this person. I found him the very next day. Varfolomych is a very decent old man. He lives with his old wife, earning their bread through hard work. He gave me all the documents. I had to reward him for such a service, of course. I was left without money, but more on that later. It turned out that all 12 living room chairs from Vorobyanov's place ended up with an engineer named Bruns on Vinogradnia Street. Note that all the chairs ended up with one person, which I didn't expect at all. I was afraid the chairs would end up in different places. I was very happy about this. Just then at the Sorbonne, I met that scoundrel Vorobyaninov again. I scolded him and his friend, the thug, properly. I didn't hold back. I was very afraid that they would find out my secret, and I hid in the hotel until they left. Bruns, it turns out, left Stargorod in 1923 for Kharkov, where he was assigned to work. I found out from the janitor that he took all the furniture with him and takes great care of it. He's said to be a respectable man. I'm now sitting at the train station in Kharkov and writing for the following reason. First, I love you very much and miss you, and second, Bruns is no longer here. But don't be upset. Bruns now works in Rostov at Novorosment, as I found out. I barely have enough money for the trip. I'm leaving in an hour on a freight passenger train. You, my dear, please go to your brother-in-law, take 50 rubles from him. He owes me and promised to give it back, and send it to Rostov, main post office, post restant to Fyodor Ionovich Vostrikov. Send the money by mail to save money. It will cost 30 kopecks. What's the news in town? What's new? Has Kondratyevna visited you? Tell Father Kirill that I'll be back soon, that I went to see a dying aunt in Voronezh. Save money. Is Evstaniv still eating lunch? Give him my regards. Tell him I went to see my aunt. How's the weather? Here in Kharkov, it's completely summer. The city is noisy, the center of the Ukrainian Republic. After the provinces, it feels like I've gone abroad. Do this. Take my summer cassock to the cleaners. Better to pay 3 rubles for cleaning than to spend money on a new one. Take care of your health. When you write to Gyulenka, mention casually that I went to see my aunt in Voronezh. Give everyone my regards, tell them I'll be back soon. I kiss you tenderly, embrace you, and bless you, your husband Fedya. P.S. Where is Vorobyaninov lurking now? Love dries up the Ch Slavska, the bull bellows with passion, the rooster can't find peace. The leader of the nobility is losing his appetite. Leaving Ostap and the student Ivan Ippolit in the tavern, Ippolit Matveyevich sneaked into the pink house and took up his position near the fireproof safe. He heard the noise of trains departing for Castile and the splashing of departing steamboats. The golden edges of distant Alpujarras fade. His heart swayed like a pendulum, his ears were ticking. Come out, my dear, to the inviting sound of the guitar. Anxiety filled the corridor. Nothing could melt the cold of the fireproof safe. From Seville to Granada in the quiet twilight of the nights. Gramophones groaned in their cases, the buzzing of Primus stoves echoed. Serenades are heard, the clanging of swords is heard. In short, Ippolit Matveyevich was madly in love with Liza Kalachova. Many people passed Ippolit Matveyevich in the corridor, but they smelled of tobacco or vodka or the pharmacy or day-old cabbage soup. In the darkness of the corridor, people could only be distinguished by their smell or the weight of their steps. Liza didn't pass by. Ippolit Matveyevich was sure of this. She didn't smoke, didn't drink vodka, and didn't wear boots with iron studs. She couldn't smell of iodine or offal. She could only have the delicate scent of rice porridge or well-prepared hay, which Mrs. Nordman-Severova fed the famous artist Ilya Repin for so long. But then light, hesitant steps were heard. Someone was walking down the corridor, bumping into its elastic walls and sweetly muttering. "Is that you, Elizaveta Petrovna?" Ippolit Matveyevich asked in a zephyr-like voice. In response, a bass voice boomed. "Tell me, please, where do the pfefferkorns live here? You can't make heads or tails of anything in this darkness." Ippolit Matveyevich fell silent in fright. The pfefferkorn seeker waited for an answer in bewilderment, and not receiving one, crawled on. It wasn't until 9 o'clock that Liza arrived. They went out onto the street under the caramel-green evening sky. "Where shall we stroll?" Liza asked. Ippolit Matveyevich looked at her white and sweet glowing face, and instead of saying directly, "I am here in Asila, standing under your window," began to talk at length and tediously about how he hadn't been to Moscow in a long time, and that Paris was incomparably better than the White Stone City, which, no matter what, remained a chaotically planned large village. "I remember Moscow, Elizaveta Petrovna, not like this. Now everything feels stingy, but in our time we didn't spare money. We only live once in life, there's such a song." They walked the entire Perkistensky Boulevard and came out to the embankment, to the Cathedral of Christ the Savior. Beyond the Moskvoretsky Bridge, black-brown fox tails stretched out. The electric stations of Moges smoked like a squadron. Trams rolled across the bridges. Boats went along the river. A harmonica told a sad story. Taking Ippolit Matveyevich by the hand, Liza told him about all her sorrows, about the quarrel with her husband, about the difficult life among eavesdropping neighbors, former chemists, and about the monotony of the vegetarian table. Ippolit Matveyevich listened and considered. Demons were awakening in him. He imagined a wonderful dinner. He came to the conclusion that such a girl needed to be stunned with something. "Let's go to the theater," Ippolit Matveyevich suggested. "Better to the cinema," Liza said. "It's cheaper." "Oh, what do money have to do with it? Such a night and suddenly some money." Completely unleashed demons without haggling put the couple in a cab and took them to the R cinema. Ippolit Matveyevich was magnificent. He took the most expensive tickets. However, they didn't sit through the entire show. Liza was used to sitting in cheap seats, close up, and couldn't see well from the expensive 24th row. In Ippolit Matveyevich's pocket lay half the sum earned by the concessionaires in the Stargorod conspiracy. This was a lot of money for Vorobyaninov, who had become unaccustomed to luxury. Now, excited by the possibility of easy love, he was going to dazzle Liza with the breadth of his scope. For this, he considered himself perfectly prepared. He proudly recalled how easily he had once conquered the heart of the beautiful Alina Burr. The ability to spend money easily and pompously was inherent in him. He was famous in Stargorod for his upbringing and ability to converse with any lady. It seemed ridiculous to him to spend all his old-fashioned gloss on conquering a small Soviet girl who hadn't really seen or known anything yet. After some persuasion, Ippolit Matveyevich took Liza to the model MSB, Prague Canteen, the best place in Moscow, as Bender told him. Best place in Moscow struck Liza with its abundance of mirrors, light, and flower pots. Liza was forgivable. She had never visited large model restaurants before, but the mirrored hall unexpectedly struck Ippolit Matveyevich as well. He had fallen behind, forgotten the restaurant order. Now he was positively ashamed of his baronial boots with square toes, custom-made pre-war trousers, and lunar vest sprinkled with silver stars. Both were embarrassed and froze in full view of the rather diverse public. "Let's go over there to the corner," Vorobyaninov suggested, although there were free tables right by the stage, where the orchestra was sawing out the usual potpourri from La Bayadere. Feeling that everyone was looking at her, Liza quickly agreed. The social lion and conqueror of women Vorobyaninov followed her in embarrassment. The social lion's worn trousers hung in a bag from his thin backside. The conqueror of women hunched over and, to overcome his embarrassment, began to wipe his pince-nez. No one approached the table, as Ippolit Matveyevich expected, and he, instead of gallantly conversing with his lady, was silent, languished, timidly tapped the ashtray on the table and coughed endlessly. Liza looked around curiously. The silence became unnatural, but Ippolit Matveyevich couldn't utter a word. He had forgotten exactly what he always said in such cases. He was constrained by the fact that no one was approaching the table. "Be so kind," he called out to the passing workers of the public catering. "In a minute, sir," the public catering workers shouted on the go. Finally, the menu was brought. Ippolit Matveyevich delved into it with a sense of relief. "However," he muttered, "veal cutlets are 2.25, filet is 2.25, vodka is 5 rubles. "For 5 rubles a large carafe, sir," the waiter reported, looking around impatiently. "What's wrong with me?" Ippolit Matveyevich was horrified. "I'm becoming ridiculous." "Here, please," he said to Liza with belated politeness. "Would you like to choose? What will you eat?" Liza was ashamed. She saw how proudly the waiter looked at her companion and realized that he was doing something wrong. "I don't want to eat at all," she said in a trembling voice. "Or here's what. Tell me, comrade, do you have anything vegetarian?" The waiter began to stomp like a horse. "We don't keep vegetarian, sir, except maybe an omelet with ham." "Then here's what," Ippolit Matveyevich said, deciding. "Give us sausages. You will eat sausages, Elizaveta Petrovna, won't you?" "I will." "So, sausages, these ones for 1 ruble and 25 kopecks, and a bottle of vodka. It will be in a small carafe." Then a large carafe. The public catering worker looked at the defenseless Liza with transparent eyes. "What will you have with the vodka? Fresh caviar, salmon, small pies?" The registrar's clerk continued to rage in Ippolit Matveyevich. "No need," he said with unpleasant rudeness. "How much are the pickled cucumbers? Well, fine, give us 2. The waiter ran off and silence reigned again at the table. Liza spoke first. "I've never been here before. It's very nice here." "Yes, Ippolit Matveyevich drawled, calculating the cost of the order. "It's okay," he thought. "I'll drink some vodka. I'll loosen up. Otherwise, it's really awkward somehow." But when he drank the vodka and ate the cucumber, he didn't loosen up but became even gloomier. Liza didn't drink. The tension didn't disappear. And then a mustachioed man approached the table and, looking affectionately at Liza, offered to buy flowers. Ippolit Matveyevich pretended not to notice the mustachioed florist, but he didn't leave. It was completely impossible to say pleasantries in his presence. The concert program helped out for a while. A plump man in a frock coat and patent leather shoes came out onto the stage. "Well, here we are again," he said to the audience in a casual manner. "The next number in our concert program will be performed by the world-renowned performer of Russian folk songs, well known in Mariina Rashcha, Varvara Ivanovna Godolskaya. Varvara Ivanovna, please." Ippolit Matveyevich drank vodka and was silent. Since Liza didn't drink and kept trying to go home, he had to hurry to finish the whole carafe. When a couplet singer in a ribbed velvet Tolstoy blouse came out on stage, replacing the singer known in Mariina Rashcha, and sang, "Walk, you wander everywhere, as if your appendicitis will be satisfied by walking. Walk, tarararas." Ippolit Matveyevich was already quite drunk, and together with all the visitors of the model canteen, whom he had considered rude and stingy Soviet bandits half an hour ago, clapped his hands in time and began to sing along. "Walk, tararara." He often jumped up and, without apologizing, went to the restroom. The neighboring tables were already calling him uncle and inviting him to their table for a glass of beer, but he didn't go. He suddenly became proud and suspicious. Liza resolutely stood up from the table. "I'm going and you stay. I'll get there myself." "No, why? As a nobleman I can't allow it. Senor, the bill, Howie." Ippolit Matveyevich looked at the bill for a long time, swaying in his chair. 9 rubles and 20 kopecks, he muttered. "Maybe you want the key to the apartment where the money is too." It ended with Ippolit Matveyevich being led downstairs, carefully holding him by the arms. Liza couldn't run away because the coat check ticket was with the high society lion. In the first alley, Ippolit Matveyevich leaned on Liza with his shoulder and began to grab her with his hands. Liza silently tore herself away. "Listen," she said, listen. "Let's go to my room," Vorobyaninov urged. Liza freed herself with force and, without aiming, punched the conqueror of women in the nose with her fist. Immediately, the pince-nez with the gold frame fell off, and getting under the square toe of the baronial boots, shattered with a crunch. Nocturnal zephyr streamed ether. Liza, choking with tears, ran along Serebryny Lane to her home. The Guadalquiver roared and ran. Blinded, Ippolit Matveyevich trotted in the opposite direction, shouting, "Stop, thief! Then he cried for a long time and, still crying, bought all the bagels from an old woman, along with the basket. He went out to the Smolensky market, empty and dark, and walked back and forth there for a long time, scattering bagels like a sower scattering seeds. At the same time, he shouted unmusically, "Walk! You wander everywhere. Tararara." Then Ippolit Matveyevich befriended a cab driver, opened his heart to him, and told him incoherently about the diamonds. "A cheerful gentleman," exclaimed the cab driver. Ippolit Matveyevich really cheered up. Apparently, his fun was of a somewhat reprehensible nature, because around 11 o'clock in the morning he woke up in a police station. Of the 200 rubles with which he had so disgracefully begun the night of pleasures and delights, he had only 12 left. He felt like he was dying. His spine ached, his liver throbbed, and he felt like a lead pot had been put on his head. But worst of all was that he couldn't remember at all where and how he could have spent such a large sum of money. Ostap looked at Ippolit Matveyevich's haggard figure for a long time and with surprise, but said nothing. He was cold and ready to fight.